What's up, everybody? Welcome to my first Master Duel video. I just got done streaming the first day of the Fusion Festival. Streamed for like 5 or 6 hours only playing this deck, and I figured I'd share since a lot of people in chat have asked me for the deck list, which of course I've provided while live, but I figured I'd also just make a small video out of it, let you guys know what I've been enjoying during this festival. And let me tell you, I have played nothing else but this deck after making it. I've made a couple improvements along the way, but Despia DPE has been by far the most fun for me. And it's not like a sleeper pick. I've run into quite a few other Despias, but no one's been running the deck quite like I have, I feel like. I've not seen anyone on the Allure Goo and stuff like that. But yeah, this deck, I mean, everyone's playing the TCG right now with Despia, and you guys know the deck becomes very, very strong once the structure deck comes out. But even before that, in a format where everyone's limited to just summoning fusion monsters, Despia is one of the better picks. And let me tell you, this deck had quite the impressive win rate for me today. I think we've only lost like 4 games the entire stream, being like 6 or 7 hours. We've grinded through the entirety of the Fusion Festival, all the gem rewards, almost all the missions. We haven't quite got to the title yet, but we'll get that soon as well. Either way, I'll just quickly present you guys all the cards that I'm playing, tell you guys, you know, what the idea of the deck is and everything. But basically, we played 3 Tragedy because it's very, very good to draw this card, because this deck does not have Branded Fusion yet, so you can't access this from your deck, and you really want to be drawing this together with your Fusion spells or Allure of Darkness to generate some pluses and get into your Alibers, your Dramaturge, and your Ad Libitum. For hand traps, I chose just to play Ash. This was just because when I made this deck on stream, we built the deck together basically with chat a little bit, and people told me everyone was playing True Draco. Everyone was like, oh, this is the Outlich Festival, this is the True Draco Festival, don't put Maxi into your deck. I ended up in 5 or 6 hours playing against like 4 True Draco decks, no Outlich. It might depend on which rank you're on, because I noticed they do pair you against people that have the same rank as you do in ranked. So if you're like gold or something, maybe there's more True Draco there. For me personally, there hasn't been that many True Dracos, and I think you can still very well play the 3 Maxis. Whether I'll tell you what I would take out for the 3 Maxis. It depends on what decks you're facing. You'll see that along the way, whether you want Maxi in your deck or not. It's going to be pretty clear for you, I think. Frightful package, triple Edge and Chain, triple Patchwork, and 2 polys is pretty standard. I mean, you know this from the TCG. But it's really good in Master Duel as well, simply because it gives you so many cards in hand. Unfortunately, we can't make Chimera, which would be nuts. But even without Chimera, converting these into, you know, multiple Masquerades is basically the goal of the first turn of this deck. We just make a couple Masquerades, and you know, that it really helps to just get free polys and free bodies here. We play Celestial and somewhere Dasher, and obviously Fusion Destiny. Fusion only, can't Verte for it, but you still play these cards. It's so strong. DPE in this deck is even harder to remove because Ad Libitum can bring it back. So I've had someone kaiju my DPE and then I brought it back with Ad Libitum. It is absolutely crazy, and I mean, you all know how strong DPE is. Even though he's only been out for 3 days in Master Duel, you probably have summoned DPE or have your opponent have summoned DPE against you like multiple times and know how strong the card is. It's just absolutely crazy. Every time you draw Fusion Destiny and your opponent doesn't answer it and they don't have their own Fusion Destiny, they probably lose the game. That's how strong this is. I play 1 Fallen of Albaz, which you could play more than this. I play 1 because I don't really want to draw it, because the fusions you can go into with Albaz with Poly aren't actually that good, because we don't have Lubellion yet. We don't have many lights to make Albion, and even if we make Albion, what are we gonna summon with Albion? Nothing that is super crazy. You could try to fit some lights in here, like Ecclesia, but I just really haven't had the space for it. But yeah, Albaz is just, it's really cool to send it with your triple copies of Albion the Shrouded Dragon, which is basically just an upstart goblin. Like, you send a branded Fallen of Albaz or branded spell from deck to the grave and put it back to the bottom and draw a card, which is like just upstart goblin with a little bonus, because Albaz in the grave can be used for branded in white. Or if you don't need that, you can send Branded Opening, which protects your fusion monsters from destructions, which is really very relevant in a format where DPE is everywhere. I've also been like saved from like torrential tributes and stuff like that throughout the day. It's just very, very strong. Obviously, you're going to run triple Aluber, your main way of getting into your spells. The one Dramaturge is really strong because just the 3k body is really strong in the Fusion Festival, gets over most things. I've beaten a bunch of true Dracos, the ones that I played, I've beaten all of them, even if they had Monarch's Erupt or Skill Drain, because my monsters are just bigger than theirs. So they not only need like a monster plus Skill Drain or Erupt, they also need a lot of ways to deal with your monsters. Which is kind of cool. Like I said, triple Albion, you could cut this down. This is one of the candidates you can take out if you want to include Maxi in your deck. But I've been enjoying sending Branded Opening to be safe from some removal. And then the what ad libitum, this is really, really strong for recursion. Double Poly for the Frightful package, one Foolish to send Tragedy to add Aluber or any of the other two if you want them. Allure, really good deck thinning, see more of your Fusion Destiny, banish Tragedy for pluses, get rid of extra Edgem chains that you might have, really good card. Patchwork I've already mentioned, Fusion Destiny already mentioned. Branded in White is cool, but also one of those cards you could consider taking out, but I've had a couple of games where this gave me an extra Masquerade onto the board. It comes up whenever you draw Albion, you send Albaz to the grave, and then you can brand it in White, which is basically a Miracle Fusion if you have Albaz in grave. So it just summons like an extra Masquerade for you if you can pull off that line. One Theater, this card is really, really good right here. It's not a staple in the TCG, but in this current format, it is really, really strong because it makes your board so hard to get rid of, right? Most of your first turn will put an Aluber into the graveyard. And then you'll have your fusions, your Masquerades and your Theater on the board. And then when they kill your Masquerade, you bring back Aluber, which when they kill the Aluber, you bring back another fusion and so on and so forth. It's just really good in the grind game. And you search this a lot with Aluber, simply because it's a fusion spell, right? It's a fusion spell with extra bonus. It's really nice. Super Poly. Look, Super Poly is absolutely ridiculous in this deck, against almost any deck in the Fusion Festival. This is the one card I don't understand why they didn't ban it. They banned so many anti-fusion cards. Like, they even banned like Forbidden Apocrypha, which easily gets rid of like 2 fusions or more. And Super Poly is just that, but infinitely better, because it's not a trap card. It gives you a big body on the board. This card is insane. I feel like whenever this card resolved, I think the player who had it won the game almost every time today. And I know it's an ultra rare, but you should probably be putting that card in your deck. I mean, it's not a bad investment either way, right? Because eventually Super Poly is going to be good in the real format anyways. Which is true about this whole deck in general, right? I mean, people might be afraid of, spending CP to craft like Masquerades or anything, but once Branded Fusion comes out in Master Duel, this deck is going to be probably the best deck in the game. So don't be too afraid of spending your CP for Masquerades. Then we got three opening, just a very, very good flexible card. Makes sure the deck pretty much always opens playable. And 2 Branded in Red, which is not as good in this game without Chimera, but it's still a good card, so you still run it and you still search it very often. For the extra deck, Mud Dragon is just a Super Poly target. I've never made it though, because it's the Fusion Festival, so most other people have like stuff that you can fuse into better things, but just in case. You don't need all of this, like not every of this is necessary. Dangerous, I've made once, it's just like in case you draw like one. There's a funny line where if you draw one of the Destiny heroes, you can like fuse it together with Tragedy or something else, and then send the other part to the graveyard, and then you can draw 2 with Celestial the next turn. It can theoretically come up in like bricky hands, but yeah. 1 Starving Venom, pretty good with Super Poly. Also even made it sometimes with Branded in Red to go for game over a big monster. Dragostapelia, absolutely crazy. Titaniclad, never summoned it. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. Sprint is just in case you draw Albaz and you want to fuse away something weird from your opponent, right? These are here. Albion, summoned it once simply because we don't run light monsters, but Quiritus is a light, so you can summon it with Branded in White when Quiritus goes to the graveyard, which happens sometimes. But most importantly, you can fuse an opponent's light monster into this, so you should have one of this. Quiritus is something you can play 2 if you have 2, but 1 is also fine. Definitely need DPE. Triple Masquerade. Surprisingly, I have summoned Triple Masquerade more than I would like to admit today. Not all 3 in 1 turn, but sometimes I made 2 on the first turn, and they activated a couple cards, went down in life points a lot, and then I made the 3rd one on my next turn, which really locked them out of playing the game. If you only have 2, I would say don't worry about it. It's kind of niche. You are fine with 2 because once the deck comes to the TCG with to Master Duel, I mean, once the deck comes to Master Duel with Branded Fusion and everything, you will never need 3. You'll only need 2. So if you only have 2, don't worry about it. Just play 2. That's fine. Mechaba is just against Invoked for Super Poly. Same with this thing. This is the most obnoxious thing. 3 Dark Monsters in the mirror. This has been summoned against me and I've lost the game because of it with Super Poly. And I have summoned it with Super Poly against other Despias. It's crazy. Proskinian doesn't really come up, but it's in here just in case someone has a light monster on the board. You can go like crazy with it. I haven't summoned it once. And that's the deck. If you're wondering what the basic strategy is, you're trying to set up a board going first, ideally consisting of either 2 Masquerades or 1 Masquerade and Dramaturge, which is this guy right here. Or if you draw really well, you can actually make 2 Masquerades and Dramaturge, and then obviously if you draw Fusion Destiny, your boards are also going to have DPE, and if you have DPE, and if they don't have Super Poly, you're pretty much winning every game. But that's probably the case for most decks in Fusion decks, so it's the basic strategy, and the deck is just like really hard to outgrind because people can't really OTK. You can't really set up an OTK board against Masquerades because first of all, you have to pay a lot of life points until you have all that damage on the field. But second, most importantly, it's like you also just can't really kill this deck because Aluber comes back when you kill the Masquerade, then the Masquerade comes back with its own effect, and then the Theater also triggers, and like it's just really, really funny how hard this deck is actually to outgrind, and it has very strong setup. If you set up like Branded in red to use like Tragedy and Ad Libitum on the opponent's turn again and over again and stuff like that. So yeah, pretty much. I played this deck without Max C, but you can definitely include Max C in this and probably take out something like not the Ad Libitum, definitely not the Ad Libitum. Probably take out like 2 Albions and the Branded in white and you're good. This is also very, very solid. The Branded in white has not been super crucial for me. I don't even know if the 1 Albaz is worth it anymore, but it can be a pretty good draw to fuse away your opponent's monsters. Either way, I hope you enjoy this deck. I hope it's doing as well for you as it did for me. I had a lot of fun with it. I had a lot of success with it, and I hope you can do the same. Hope you enjoy the Master Duel Fusion Festival as much as I did. And if you like this deck, then feel free to subscribe to this channel. Feel free to follow me over on Twitch. And have a great rest of your day. That's it for today. Peace out. Stay tuned for the next video. Bye-bye.